4 of us are Hurricane WatchNet members and net controls as well. We have a great partnership, 250 people, volunteers for the 20-meter net that will activate with us for Hurricane WatchNet. When infrastructure goes down, ham radio is the only thing that works.
This is ham radio. N4BFR, I hear you.
Hi, I'm Jim N4BFR from Ham Radio Prep. We're talking about emergency communications, and we want to talk about a really unique group in the emergency communications space, and that's SATERN.
Salvation Army Team Emergency Radio Network.
Thank you very much. And I'm here with
Dick Seeley,
hey,
N8 NIF, November 8, November India Foxtrot.
Nick, can you tell us a little bit more about what SATERN does?
SATERN goes out to any place that Salvation Army needs communications, has any issue with communications, any disaster or any relief effort that they do. And what we do is provide communications for the Salvation Army teams that are out in the field, as well as the canteen service that's there, and any other emergency service that Salvation Army is involved in. We also have a partnership with the Hurricane WatchNet. We do activate with them. We take the health and welfare traffic out of the affected areas, as well as Hurricane WatchNet. We assist them as relays as well.
Great. You mentioned something in there, health and welfare traffic. What exactly does that mean?
Well, when a disaster strikes and we're involved with the Hurricane WatchNet, we pass only positive traffic. There's a liability with negative traffic. So if Aunt Millie manages to get to somebody that has a ham radio and says, hey, will you guys contact my family in Ohio and let them know that I'm all right, I'm safe, I'm in a shelter, on and on and on. We're happy to take that traffic and pass that, whether it be by phone or whatever, but to get out of the affected area, we'll take that through ham traffic.
That's terrific. So let's say a ham wants to get involved with SATERN. What are the requirements that you guys have? What are you looking for?
We have two requirements. One is introduction to Salvation Army, and the other is safe from harm. Yeah, there's different names for it in different parts of the territories. So safe from harm is the one that we use in Michigan.
From a ham radio perspective, are you looking for a specific license level? So they got to be a tech or a general extra?
It does not necessarily have to be a ham. A lot of what we do is on commercial frequencies. Salvation Army has their own radio frequencies through the FCC as well. So it's not necessarily a requirement. We would like to see hams join us. We would like to grow hams that join us, but nothing specific has to be. You can be a SATERN member without having a ham license.
If they were a ham, a general class, are you using HF as well?
Oh no,
as,
I've got a lot of technician classes. A lot of it's done on UHF, VHF. So unless you're involved in the HF side of things, no, a general's not required.
No self-deploying, right?
No self-deploying, absolutely correct.
What are the kind of things that if I say, hey, I'm ready to be part of the SATERN group, what are the kind of things I should expect if I go deploy with you?
Well, the first thing we do is we set you up with a territory coordinator to let you know what your closest core would be, and to reach out and see if they've got a SATERN program. If they don't, we would contact somebody within the SATERN program and try to get you hooked up with the closest person possible.
If I get called to deploy, would it necessarily just be locally to where I am, or could I be cross-country? What's the...
Depends on the deployment. What's needed at that time, wherever the disaster may need.
Right. What am I missing? I feel like I should be asking something that I didn't get the right question.
Well, I'll tell you that 4 of us are Hurricane WatchNet members and net controls as well, so we are integrated with them. We do have an MOU with them, and we have a great partnership. We do have a 20-meter net that I am net manager of, and that runs Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on the Hurricane WatchNet frequency of 14.325, and that's at 10:30 Central Time till 11:30 Central Time. Saturday, we move to 14.320 at the same 10:30 Central Time. I have net controls in Shaw Island, Washington, Texas, Arizona, Pennsylvania, in relays everywhere.
The hurricane watch net is a really important thing that hams do, and I've listened in a lot of times during storms. You'd think that it would be like, okay, there's one station in Miami and we're all good to go and everybody just phone home to that, but that's not it at all, is it?
No, because when infrastructure goes down, ham radio is the only thing that works. And to have net controls and relay stations all over the U.S., what I may not hear in Michigan, somebody else in Colorado will. So I have a list of about 200 people, 250 people, volunteers for the 20-meter net that are associated with that actually will activate with us for Hurricane WatchNet.
Here with John, KD9VZJ, and John was going to kind of explain to us where SATERN plays a role in the overall Salvation Army piece. So what do we know Salvation Army to doing normally?
You know, traditionally maybe what you think of or see is the trucks out providing nourishment, hydration to first responders or victims of disasters. And being a relatively new ham and a relatively new Salvation Army volunteer, I've been not necessarily deployed, but assigned to work some planned events such as a music fest or the NASCAR race in Chicago, where we have multiple trucks. And I've identified, and other people are agreeing, that there is a role for amateur radio in that scenario. So if we're spread out among numerous vehicles and I need ice over here and I got someone working the ice truck, I can use my radio to say, you know, we need some more supplies in here. So we're trying to integrate more of the amateur radio into traditionally what Salvation Army does.
That's a great example of public service events, which I think is a lot of ways that hams will get their feet wet into emergency communications.
Exactly, and you know, my colleague Scott DeSantis introduced me to working with the Chicago Marathon, where there's 125 hams providing support to 50,000 runners, and we worked in aid station, working with the medical team, passing traffic back to incident command on here's what's happening at aid station 13, and I learned a tremendous amount about the value of amateur radio in a planned event like a marathon.
So you mentioned working on the marathon, and this is the kind of thing we want to get our students engaged in and get them ready for. What are one or two things that you either prepped for in advance or didn't think about and needed as you went down the road? Equipment, deploying, right. Those kind of things.
Exactly. We're having a radio programmed with the frequencies that were going to be in use at that event. Making sure things like, I'm going to be working a NASCAR event, I need to be prepared with the proper clothes for that event. I wore blue jeans. I was soaked the immediate I got off of the out of the Suburban. So simple things that you maybe not think of, but if you're working a public service event, bring sunscreen, bring a hat, bring the things you need to get through the day.
Loud environment, right? You want a speaker mic or headphones because you're going to be able.
Exactly.
You need to be able to hear what they're talking to you. You can't just have a radio on your belt and expect that to work.
Yeah, and sometimes the information you're passing might be sensitive, and you don't want to be broadcasting to everyone around you. You want the ability to speak into a mic.
That's a great tip.
We all have our individual go kits that we like to bring out to events, and have our own radios. And Salvation Army actually has a typing system that if you're going to be deployed, these are the things you should be bringing as a volunteer.
That's I'm sure really helpful for people just trying to get started.
Yeah. The more you can get involved, the greater the opportunity you have to use your skills, advance your skills. I mean, this is a hobby that has lots of different, I call them rabbit holes that you can go down, but it can expand your sense of worth that you're providing a value to the community and get involved. I mean, I like combining various things I do. I'm also involved with the local CERT team. So one of the things I'm looking to do is bring the things I'm learning that SATERN, Salvation Army does, to my CERT team and get a group of us who are licensed amateur radio people so I can help my local community in planned events.
And John, there's probably things you're doing every day in ham radio that maybe you're doing for fun, but you don't realize are actually preparing you for emergency communications.
Exactly.